My name is Peter. I'm 73 years old. If you've been here before, you might remember me from a story I shared recently. The response to that video, it surprised me, in a good way. It reminded me that even at this age, there are still conversations worth having. Tonight, I want to tell you something more personal, something softer, something I've carried quietly for years. This is about my wife, Jess. We were married for 41 years. 41 years is a lifetime. It's long enough to grow comfortable, long enough to believe you understand someone completely, long enough to stop asking questions. For most of our marriage, I believed we were solid. Not dramatic, not cinematic, just steady. We didn't fight much. We paid our bills. We raised our children. We showed up for holidays, birthdays, anniversaries. From the outside, we looked fine. And for a long time, I told myself that fine was enough. Jess passed away 6 years ago. Pancreatic cancer. It moved fast. March to July. 4 months. One season of the year. That's all it took. In those final weeks, when everything became very quiet and very real, she said something to me that I still hear almost every day. She said, very gently, "Peter, we spent a lot of time being right, not enough time being close." There was no anger in her voice, just truth. And at first I didn't quite understand what she meant, because in my mind we had done everything correctly. I had been faithful, I had worked hard, I had provided, I had stayed. But over time I've come to understand something that took me decades to see. Staying isn't the same as connecting. Being present in a room isn't the same as being present in a heart. Jess used to suggest little things. Nothing extravagant. Let's try a pottery class together. Why don't we go dancing again? Do you remember when we used to stay up talking? She would say it lightly, almost playfully, and I would respond with practical answers. I'm tired. Work's been busy. Maybe next month. We'll do it when things slow down. Things never slow down. And next month quietly turns into next year, then into someday, and then into never. I didn't realize I was turning away from her. It didn't feel dramatic. It felt small. But that's how distance begins. Not with explosions, with postponements. Over time, Jess stopped suggesting things. She stopped asking me to dance, stopped mentioning the pottery class, stopped trying to stretch our evenings into long conversations. She adapted. She found friends. She found hobbies. She built small joys around the spaces I left unattended. We became efficient partners. We ran a home well. But intimacy requires curiosity. And I had slowly stopped being curious. When she got sick, the illusion of later disappeared. Suddenly, time felt fragile. Every conversation felt heavier. Every silence felt louder. We began talking more honestly than we had in years. One night, she told me about Scotland. Her grandmother had been from there. She had grown up with stories of the Highlands, the wind across open hills, the stone cottages. She had always wanted to go. And she had mentioned it to me, more than once. Each time I had responded with logic. It's expensive. It's a long flight. Let's wait until retirement. Retirement came. We still didn't go. As she lay in hospice, she told me about that dream. Not accusingly, just thoughtfully. She said she would have loved to walk those hills with me. I asked her why she didn't insist, why she didn't push harder, She looked at me and she said something I'll never forget. She said, "I didn't want you to take me because you felt obligated. I wanted you to want it." That's when it settled in. She didn't want the trip. She wanted the shared excitement, the shared anticipation, the feeling of being chosen. I thought love was about responsibility, about stability, about doing the right thing. But love is also about enthusiasm, about saying, "Tell me more," about leaning forward instead of leaning away. After she passed, I found a journal in her nightstand. I waited a long time before opening it. I wasn't sure I was ready. Inside were pages of her thoughts, some joyful, some lonely. She wrote about missing me while I was still in the room. She wrote about evenings when she felt invisible. She wrote about hoping the earlier version of me, the curious one, would come back. Reading those pages was like meeting someone new, or maybe realizing I had never fully met her at all. I was not a cruel husband. I was not abusive. I did not betray her. But I grew comfortable, and comfort can quietly become neglect. Relationships rarely shatter overnight. They erode, one ignored suggestion at a time, one distracted conversation at a time, one "not now" at a time. If you're listening to this tonight, I want you to pause for a moment. When was the last time you truly listened to your partner? Not while multitasking, not while planning your response, but fully. When was the last time you asked about their dreams, about what they still long for? When was the last time you did something simply because it mattered to them? Not because it made sense, not because it was efficient, but because it made them light up. Jess once told me she didn't need grand gestures. She just wanted to feel chosen. Chosen again, and again, and again. I thought love was about security, but longevity does not equal depth. You can be married for decades and still drift apart if you stop tending to the connection. After she was gone, people told me I had been a good husband. I understood their kindness, but I know the truth. I was adequate. I met expectations, but I did not always nurture intimacy. And intimacy is fragile. 6 years later, I still think about Scotland, about how simple it would have been to say yes. A plane ticket, a week away, a decision, and it would have meant everything to her. Instead, I chose practicality. And practicality does not sit beside me in this quiet house. Memories do. On my desk is a photo from our honeymoon in 1972. Jess is laughing. The wind is lifting her hair. Her eyes are bright, full of possibility. I sometimes look at that photo and wonder when I stopped protecting that light. Not intentionally, but slowly, quietly. She was right. We spent too much time being right, not enough time being close. Closeness requires humility. It requires curiosity. It requires effort even when you're tired, especially when you're tired. If you still have your person, I hope you talk to them tonight. Not about errands, not about responsibilities, about them. Ask what they're dreaming about. Ask what they still long for. Ask what feels distant. And when they answer, listen. Put the phone down. Let the silence stretch. Because one day that silence will be permanent. And no matter how long you had together, it will feel too short. I'm not sharing this to make you feel regret. I'm sharing it because you still have time. Time to choose connection over comfort. Time to say yes. Time to be curious. Time to be close. Love isn't proven by endurance. It's proven by attention. And attention is a daily decision. If you still are able, choose it. Choose it tonight.